Welcome back. Godrej Consumer Products recently acquired the assets of Raymond Consumer Care, which included KamaSutra. On the show today, we have Raymond Consumer Care CMO Pooja Sahgal to talk about KamaSutra brand, one of the top Indian players in the sexual wellness segment. Sahgal sheds light on how the legacy brand has evolved, adopting new media and a tech-first mindset to appeal to the newer generations of consumers. And she also shares how India's sexual wellness category has changed with the trends.
Hello and welcome to Storyboard 18. Pooja, it's lovely to have you on the show.
Thanks so much for inviting me, Dilshad. It's a real pleasure to come here.
So straight off the bat, let me ask you this. How hard is it to talk about sex in a country where talking about sex is almost taboo? Your thoughts on the whole sort of dilemma that you probably face every day.
So actually, I took it as a reverse. Like I've always been a woman working with a lot of men in women-dominated categories. In the corporate world, still in marketing is pretty dominated by men. But it's one of the places where I feel as a woman I owe it to really lead the conversation, because one of our brand purposes is to make sure that we become democratic and include women in all the conversations that we are having about KamaSutra. And of course, I think overall broadly, there is definitely much more openness amongst the audience that we are talking to have these kind of conversations. So how do we really use tech and safe spaces to enable these conversations? And we launched something called the Metaverse Chatbot, where we actually say that the intermingling of technology as well as your brand purpose is allowing a lot of free-flowing conversations on a lot of the topics that we are having right now.
Condoms and deodorants, for instance, have been traditionally quite notorious.
Yes.
When it comes to their advertising, communication, and marketing initiatives. There was always that issue of the objectification of women.
Yeah.
In commercials, for example. So how are you maneuvering that piece of the puzzle? How are you sort of shedding that sleeves and taking the conversation forward and making it more relevant for your audiences today?
So basically, I feel that, one of the key things is that women definitely have a far larger role to play. And, even we are looking at data when we meet consumers. So earlier, before I joined in, even research was not happening amongst women. But since I've come in, we're testing all our ads amongst women too. And we found out that from data that even while buying a condom, 50% of women have a choice. So when it comes to things like flavors, which is unique to the country, is pretty much led by women. So what we have done, if you've seen in our recent communication, is actually the women who's really initiating the entire act of lovemaking. And the second thing that we're trying to do, we're not making like a pickup, categories of deos and condoms. We are making it in KamaSutra as a space where people actually have some sort of a relationship. And this is actually something that enables you to really cement your relationship. And, I'm just jumping the gun. So you see, even the book KamaSutra, for example, it is not only about positions. That's only one chapter. A large part of the book is all about how do you maintain, develop, and keep relationships with their paramour. So it's all about the art of seduction. It's all about the art of living well. It even tells you what not to do with a woman. So, broadly taking this entire gamut, we are making sure that we put women at the center of our communication. We put women at the center of our product innovation. And even in terms of media, we are not targeting men now. Our media plan is actually targeting both men and women. Women are just about definitely demanding, very strongly the need of the condom. So a lot of the technology innovations I see in condoms, like for example, skin, is really coming from women. They want to really feel it all. Or a lot of the innovative flavors are actually coming from women. So therefore, yeah, we're really embracing women and making sure, in fact, that women are actually leading the conversations and normalizing it. And the second thing I'll tell you, like even if you see a second category, like we say condoms, a big category is really booming is lubes, And the funny thing is 50% of lubes is actually coming from e-commerce. So women have really embraced e-commerce, and this category, I've read research is going to be almost equal to condoms. So it's growing at some 30-40% with almost 50% coming from this thing. So women are really demanding their pleasure.
But what are some of the highlight sort of numbers for you that that sort of gives us a sense of, the size of the market and where it's headed? Where are the new growth markets coming from?
So I'll just say where the new growths are coming from. So definitely one thing we see is premiumization. So, when I first came in, they used to say a condom is a condom. But today, because of women, men, enabling relationships, people are demanding different need states. So there's a need state of long last, of, climax delay. There's a need state of thin. So I see this, now become 30-40% of the category, and it's outpacing growth. So one great thing is premiumization is really driving the adoption. Second thing that we are really seeing is even premiumization in flavors. So for example, first we had all these normal chocolate, strawberry. Now people are demanding more exotic flavors. Second thing is adoption of new categories. So, things like lubes, massage gels, and with the advent of e-commerce, these categories are really exploding. So whereas, most categories are looking at, Amazon, Flipkart, here we look at Blinkit and, these delivery services account for 30-40%. And the third is also, of course, this entire thing we call sexual toys, which is all your massages, which is something that we're aiming to go to, which again is a great way we are aiming for the couple to really get together and explore new avenues. And even things like, gifting. So earlier, you had, what do you really give people? But now people are coming up, like we've coming up with a lot of kits. So you had your honeymoon kit, but then you also have now, just making the conversation more normalized, your travel kit, your first aid kit. So basically just the entire fact of upgradation.
What are your total marketing spends? And, how much of that is TV, digital? What focus from the digital pie is in influencer marketing, for instance? I mean, how has that sort of changed over time for you?
So earlier, like, of course, it was almost 70-80% was TV. But this time actually 55% is digital, and I've kept 45% on TV. TV has a lot of restrictions in condom advertising. So definitely in GEC, you can only advertise post 10. But then you have this new OTT, you have YouTube, and even Geo IPL, where you can really reach the consumer at whatever time. So we continuously dominate on video because we know video is considered social media, but it's really where consumers, digest a lot of media. So if I look at that 55%, almost 50% of that goes in video. Then I have social media marketing, which is more your Instagram as well as Facebook. And then the remaining part is influencer marketing. So influencer marketing, and a part of the influencer marketing is also talking to some sexperts. And one thing that really works in this category is memes, surprisingly. So I wouldn't do memes, for example, in deodorants or makeup or whatever, but memes, again, when you make something that's taboo, a little funny and a little lighthearted, consumers sort of normalize that conversation and embrace it. And lastly, I think this category has to have innovation. So we at least park 10-15% of our budget in digital on innovation. So last time we did something with Bobble AI, where we basically did chat-based conversations. So anytime you're talking to, someone about a date or love or whatever, we used to, serve up relevant stickers. And then we minted those stickers into NFT. We also then did a chatbot, to have consumers continuously interact with us, where we could then, publish the most important ones on Instagram, lead it to a social marketing. And even now in IPL, we've gone back to doing this. So, wherever is relevant, how much ever tech innovation you can do. And one thing that we've done always on now, which is we've put a metaverse. So I know metaverse is not the most in thing anymore. But for a brand and category like us, it does provide a safe space to really talk about KamaSutra is. So this is more about building brand love and always on program, whereas TV, digital video is all about driving, your innovation.
It is time for a short break. On the other side, we have Sachin Nath, Vice Chairman and Managing Director, YouGrow Capital, speaking about how tech and tech infrastructure is changing the MSME lending landscape in the country.